Welcome to section 2, and we will be covering how to do string manipulation in Python.
In the last section, we looked at how to install Python, how to create Python variables, what types are, and what the basic Python operators are. We have the basics down, and now we need to talk about strings.
In this section, we're going to introduce the concept of strings. Afterwards, I'm going to show you some string functions, how to do some advanced string manipulation, how to format strings so that they look nice when you print them to the console or when you use them in general, and how to get user input via strings, which is very important. But in this video, I'll be going over the basics of strings. So we will be looking at single quote strings, double quote strings, and triple quote strings, and what's the difference between each of those. And lastly, we will be looking at how to create comments using strings. We have already briefly seen strings, but in Python they come in two flavors. The first flavor are the single quote strings. So those are the ones with single quotes. And the other flavor are the strings with double quotes. These two kinds of strings are identical. However, there is an advantage to being able to represent strings using both single quotes and double quotes. Suppose, for instance, we want to write a sentence. And in this sentence, I want to emphasize the word really. So something like, I really like chocolate. I am allowed to do this because on the outside I have single quotes, and on the inside I have double quotes, so there is no conflict in creating the string. While if I wanted to use single quotes on the inside of my string, watch what happens. This has effectively divided my sentence, I really like chocolate, into two strings. I really like chocolate, although the I and the like chocolate are separate strings, and I'm getting a syntax error right now. So if I use the double quotes, this allows me to put double quotes inside my string. Similarly, if we have sentence 2, but we switch the single quotes and double quotes, we can now have the single quotes on the inside and double quotes on the outside. And they will look differently when I print them both. So the first one uses double quotes because those are the ones I'm embedding inside, and I have the single quotes on the outside. While the second sentence, I really like chocolate, with the single quotes, has the double quotes on the outside. This is great. However, what if you just wanted to use one kind of quote, and you didn't want to use the other kind of quote, so you didn't want to intermingle quote syntax? Well, you can also do that. So for sentence 1, I just want to use single quotes. So I'm going to replace these with single quotes, but now we have the same problem we had earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a backslash in front of this single quote and a backslash in front of that single quote right there. And what happened was, putting a backslash tells Python that we want this single quote to literally be a single quote in our string and not a string delimiter like the outside ones are. We can do a similar thing for the double quotes. So this is pretty handy. This is called escaping. And when I rerun that, we get the same result. Other kind of string that we have in Python are called triple quote strings. And they serve for two purposes. One of them is to write multi-line string. So suppose we have a paragraph and we want it to span multiple lines, then we can put 3 quotes, start writing. Say, this is a long paragraph. And then end it with another triple quotes. So we've assigned paragraph to this long triple quoted string, and we can print it out and use it as a variable. See, this is a paragraph. That's very nice. Although triple quote strings on their own can also be used as comments. For instance, so this behavior of triple quote strings is very nice. We can both use them as variables, but also as comments to document our code. Moreover, there is another kind of comment that we can use. Those are the single line comments, and those start with a hashtag. So, for instance, I could write, this is a single line comment, and those highlight in gray as opposed to green. In this video, we talked about the difference between single quote, double quote, and triple quote strings, as well as how to make some comments.